Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast, and we are looking at playa props here, the very first playa props video of 23-24 in the NBA this season. Definitely want to make sure to like and subscribe to that page. We've also got another video up for opening night in the NBA with best bets in there for you, a couple from Nate and myself. Also want to head to thelines.com, check out the great written content we're putting up on the site right now, and use that odds finder tool that we have up there. Make sure that you're getting the best odds available to you as you're searching for these playa props like Nate and myself. We are kind of known for these, Nate, so let's try to kick things off well here. Obviously, it's inevitable we're going to get hot at some point in the season. We're throwing out some feelers. I would also be very clear it's a lot of change in the NBA this offseason, so we're going to sprinkle some here and there and figure out how we're feeling with these props moving forward, right?
Yeah, I mean your biggest research is like coach speak and projected minutes, et cetera, which is why I feel pretty good about Austin Reeves getting 50.5 points. I initially had the assists in there as well, but I think the points are a little more secure given that we don't know the roles necessarily for the Lakers handling the ball. How much is LeBron going to take on the point guard role? How much is D'Angelo Russell going to actually play after just getting run off the floor in this playoff series against Denver last year, where he was just awful and Austin Reeves stepped right in and said, "Thank you very much. I will play well enough to earn myself this nice 4-year deal." They brought him back early on bird rights, so they very much like Austin Reeves. He's going to be a big part of this team going forward. Played with Team USA this summer, so less rust, I guess you'd say, for a young guy. Definitely not going to be that tired. Just the Team USA boost. Learning from more experienced vets and playing well. And in his one preseason game, he dropped 14 in 24 minutes. And I mean, we know what he did once he got steady run in the middle of last year. Post All-Star break, averaged 17.5 points and 5.5 assists. Per 36 on the year, over 16 points. So that's where we're at for this prop. You can get it at 14.5, an expensive 14.5 if you like. Or you can tack on the assists at 19.5, and then you get a better price here. He did average 21 points and over 5 assists in the playoffs against Denver. So they're kind of a team that's been better against traditional point guards, forced you to facilitate from the wing, and Reeves was able to do that. He's got a very well-rounded offensive game, and I trust him to get buckets here in the season debut.
Yeah, I think this is a fair line. To quote our friend Mo over at thelines.com. But I still think that in the opening game of the season, I think it's going to be very clear from the jump that, like, he's the third banana, right? Like, that's it. And to be honest, LeBron in his age and what we've seen when LeBron is on the floor with Austin Reeves, he's a facilitator. He averaged the more assists than I care to admit in that conference finals last year, because I was trying to bet his unders as it kept creeping up for the assist, but it did not go under. It kept going over because of that, a huge part because of that factor. I think by that point in time, you got the young Austin Reeves who's still not tired and just super happy to be here in these Western Conference finals, playing really well. And I think he's definitely going to be the third banana, like I said. So after, if LeBron, he's going to be in the low 20s this year. Like, I think it's going to be a lot more of a stretch to assume LeBron's going to just put up 20 points per game. You're going to see some opportunity probably for some assists for him, which is still kind of high in this game. And the beneficiary of that will be Austin Reeves in a lot of situations, as well as Gabe Vincent, by the way. But Jamal Murray, I got to start with an under, and I got to give compliments to Nate over here for finding this one and really sending me down a little bit of a hole to find a couple more things that we both liked about this bet. Jamal Murray under 6.5 assists. The kid's coming out with an under to kick things off. I think we both love the game script of a ton of points in the other game. This one might see a bit more defense. It's very reasonable to believe that in Denver, with the way that both these teams are going to be coming in, the age on the side of the Lakers and whatever partying that Jokic and company were doing over the offseason that they're coming off of, some rust is to be had. The 6.5 assists is a lot for him. The Lakers were in the top 10 in limiting point guards in assists last year before they lost, or they sort of lost Russ, which was an addition by subtraction to the defense overall, who in his heyday, when he's slapping the floor and playing hard D, Russ could have guarded most point guards that have ever played in the NBA with his athleticism and quick feet. it's not really something that he's relied upon very highly over the last like roughly 5-6 years of his career. And so, that's just another indication of what we got. Once you put guys like obviously Schrader, missing him will be a bit of a pain in the butt, but don't sleep on Gabe Vincent's D. He was a really solid top of the D sort of attacking point guard on defense for the Heat last year. And I think they'll still be able to keep guys in check. Jamal has failed to hit this number in 7 straight games versus the Lakers in the regular season. For those who are thinking, don't you remember Jamal scoring 10 assists per game, basically, and hitting a bunch of crazy bets that were available on DraftKings for people who took it? For him to lead the series in assists was another crazy bet for a lot of people that they cashed. Yeah, I think that's inflating the number. I think that's the reason that once we get back into the regular season, where you go from 38 to 42 minutes a game down to 32 minutes a game max. I just don't think it's as likely that you get that 7 assists. I think it's a really great number. He averaged to take the under with. He averaged 6.2 games per last season and failed to go over this number more than he went under it. Right, so he's definitely in a ripe situation for this to just be too many assists, man. I think he's going to be relied upon to score just as much as he was last year, if not maybe even a little bit more. In which case, the assist numbers will go down for him.
Yeah, I like taking this because he's not the primary facilitator on his team. And at times, Aaron Gordon has even become more involved as a facilitator for the Nuggets as they run that unconventional offense. And, this is almost like game 5 for the Lakers, right? I mean, the familiarity you talk about when when you played your last 4 against this very team and Jamal Murray was able to cook you as a facilitator. I think they will be able to look at some of that film going into this one and try to take some of those things away. Whereas the Nuggets are in a different situation for sure, coming off a championship and riding high. But that is, I think, why there's more reason to think there will be defense. There will be, leaning on that familiarity and good personnel and Gabe Vincent, like you mentioned, to try to take that away. But I am taking an over here once again with the Lakers. And for me, yeah, I mean, Anthony Davis, I'll just throw it out there. 24.5 points is nearly even money. Anthony Davis on extra rest. Gotta love that. And then for him to hit 1-3, minus 113 FanDuel, after Darvin Ham said, I want him taking 6 threes per game. And he went 3 for 6 from deep in the preseason. So I think that's a fair, wagered. I mean, sprinkle it on if it's a little kooky, if it's a little much like the first basket bet and you don't want to mess with that, then just take him to get 25 points. Because like I said, AD on extra rest is usually dangerous. In his last 7 season openers, he's averaged 31.5 points per game. And his usage rate went up the more rest he got. Last season, it was even 30% on just one day off. But I think these two bets are tied to me because of what you said about LeBron, is that, he is now in year 20. He has said, I'm not, going to take anything personally with the Nuggets. Like, I'm self-motivated. He's not going to, that indicates he's not going to come out trying to get 35-point triple doubles anymore. He's going to try to be the leader of this team, the facilitator, and prop up guys like AD and AR, who he is very, fond of talking up in the media. And they need AD to be that guy who's just an unstoppable scorer that he was more, 4 or 5 years ago with New Orleans. And I think losing the outside shot, when you only shot 25% from deep last season, has been a big part of that. Why he's no longer as unstoppable. Guys don't have to chase him out there. I think that's why Darvin Ham is talking this up. So 1-3, certainly possible. He did start the playoff series against Denver going 40 points, 10 rebounds, and going 1 for 1 from 3. He only attempted 1.3 last season, but if Ham if you even meet in the middle and he's going to take 3 and he's going to shoot 33%, I think he will hit 1 here. And in that series, he wound up averaging 27 points per game. On a 26% usage, which is not that lofty, I think he could see more usage here because the other thing is you've got to go at Jokic, right? I mean, your best defense against Jokic is to tire him out, maybe get him in foul trouble, and make him pay for just not being as physical as AD. So I think he'll come out aggressive in this season opener, and we'll see the aggressive version of AD that sometimes disappears in the very next game.
Well, and to help substantiate your point, the aggression that you see from AD is still going to be some form of in and out. It's not going to just be bang his body into Jokic's body. That's not how you tire him out. He could take AD's frame, running into his chest all day. I mean, AD's got massive shoulders too. I get it. It's not something that like he can just stop. It's not like he can stop AD anyway, to be honest, when he's rolling to the rim. But a part of the advantage that AD has over Joker is quickness and length to finish around the rim from further away. So I do think that there's a reason to bring him out there. And if he's open, he's going to shoot the ball. And I do agree that meeting in the middle seems very reasonable for AD to take 3 threes in this game. I think it's reasonable to assume him to take 4. And once you get to 4 and you've got, minus 113 for him to just hit one of those, yeah, he's better than a 25% 3-point shooter to everyone's understanding. So let's close it out with an over as opposed to my curmudgeonly under for Jamal. I'm going to take an over for the point guard for the Dubs in their game. His name is Steph Curry. You've probably heard of him. He's the best 3-point shooter of all time. And you can still get him to hit 5 threes in this game. Another Nate special. I'm going to be totally transparent with the people here. Nate came in firing, and my guy was right as for this one as well, I think. Another little feeler bet in a way. Like, I shouldn't call it a feeler bet. We all know Steph Curry's capable of hitting 5 threes, whether he's here on the Warriors or on Mars playing for a different team. It doesn't matter. He'll still be capable of 5 threes in anytime he steps on the floor. This is just a good bet at nearly even money. I think we're still getting some value from the idea that it's early in the season. People don't remember how many threes people make in games. And to be fair as well, against the Lakers especially, he's hit this half the time last season. So he did miss this number. I mean, 4 is definitely a number that you will always take advantage of Curry with, but 5 is right around the edge. He averaged 5 last season, roughly 4.97. So, basically 5 last season. And when he's taken on the Suns in the last 6 versus them, 29 a game, 45%, and 46% rather from deep, which is actually better than what he's shooting from 2 in those games as well. 5.2 made 3. So getting over that number, and that's on 11 attempts. It does come down to the attempts for him. In the games that he missed this against the Suns, it was because he did not have 8 attempts from deep. In the games that he did, he had at least 8 attempts, or 9 rather, from deep to hit the 5 and each time, and the 6 in the other one. So I think this is not only is he going to get the attempts because he's Steph Curry, and I'm starting to fade Clay a bit. I know that what didn't work well for me at times in the playoffs. Still think over the course of regular season, he's not going to lead the league in threes anymore. Let's put it that way. But more importantly, like what you've been talking about, Chris Paul is going to feed him. I'm not worried about the fit with Chris Paul playing basketball with anybody on the entire planet. I think Chris Paul makes everybody around him better, whether they're a shooter or a slasher or a big man. It doesn't matter what your thing is on the court. CP3 will amplify it and make it better, which means we just made the best 3-point shooter of all time better at shooting threes. So I think that's only going to add to, by the way, Draymond's out for that game against the Suns. That officially came out roughly 2 hours before we're recording this. So it's a little bit different. Shakes things up still in a good way. I still think it just means more offense. I think it means more shots for Steph. I think any fear that you had that Steph isn't as good without Draymond because of the way that he facilitates him is, first of all, it's blasphemous and silly. Second of all, like Chris Paul is that facilitator. And I think it just means we just saw Chris Paul's minutes go from 25 to 32 because he's going to be in there in crunch time like he already was. And he might be called upon to play a few more minutes to open the season, coming off obviously a ton of rest in the offseason.
And that means we're going to see shooting guard Steph when CP3 is out there, right? Yeah, I mean, not tasked with running the offense, essentially, just like run off the screen and fire. You know how those like small dogs are proportionally last longer and are still spry, like 10 and 11 years, whereas old dogs are just dead. Steph Curry is a guy I have no concerns about in his age, I think 33 season right now. Just continuing to be absolutely lethal, just find his shot, just be better, just an absolute master craftsman. And the fact that he's struggled a little bit in season openers, shooting the ball does not really give me that much concern because I think he'll rise to the occasion. The only reason we're not hammering the Suns money line is because Steph can rise to match that output from Phoenix. But yeah, with Draymond out, gotta like the Suns and gotta like some of those overs we talk about in best bets.
God, I love that Phoenix money line bet I gave out that I didn't even know Draymond was injured when we recorded that one and found out for this one. So it doesn't really change much. Like I said, I love my Phoenix money line bet. I think it's probably going to drop in price as that news continues to trickle out for everyone. So that is all the time we have for you in this one, though. Continue to follow along. We're coming back to you guys with some best bets and this player props video each and every weekday of this regular season. So until we talk to you next, happy betting.